Beyond the Mic with Sean Dillon.
We're joined on the star line by a former journalist for the New York Times, 2019 Whiting Award winner and author of the Compton Cowboys, Walter Thompson-Hernandez. Welcome.
Thank you.
Let's go beyond the mic. How has your travels covering global subcultures influenced your interest in the rich subculture of the inner city black cowboy?
I think my interest in subcultures, has really taken me around the world. I've reported from nearly every continent in the world. I'm always asking questions about belonging, about identity, about community. And I think, it's really interesting that maybe the most important story that I've worked on is a story that is essentially in my backyard, in a community that is about 5 minutes away from where I was born and raised and continue to live. So I think, this Compton Cowboy story is essentially a continuation of a lot of the work that I've been doing over the years.
When the video for Lil Nas X's Old Town Road came out, there was a rediscovery of the black cowboy. But as you embedded yourself with this amazing and little-known group of people, what revealed itself during the research of this book?
To me, what has been revealed is that, because I spend a lot of time with different black cowboy groups across the U.S. for this book. And I think to me, it's really important, I think, that people know that black cowboys are absolutely invested in this idea of being a part of Americana and a part of, the history of the West in ways that, there has been erasure, for a lot of people. A lot of folks don't learn about black cowboys in schools and in history classes. But I think, black cowboys are really invested in sort of reinserting themselves back into the history books. And I'm also learning that cowboy culture and writing culture is very universal. And maybe oftentimes the sort of barriers and walls that exist out in the world don't really exist with people who have a shared fondness for horses.
After you first wrote about the Cowboys for the New York Times, you were drawn back to write this book. The people you describe are rich, layered, very nuanced. Which of their stories touched you the most?
For me, I think it was the story of Anthony Harris. Anthony is someone who was born and raised in Compton and learned how to ride horses at the age of 8 with Maisha Akbar, a woman who started the Compton Junior Posse in 1988. Anthony Harris was someone who, simultaneously learned how to ride horses at the age of 8 and was also initiated into a gang at the same time. And so for me, Anthony, was someone who's lived a double life for many years until he essentially gives up horse riding. He fully immerses himself into gang culture and street life, and is incarcerated for a few years for narcotics charges at the age of 25, 26. And while he's in prison, he sort of has a moment where he really starts to think about horses, and he starts to dream about horses, and he starts to paint horses in prison and draw them. And, this idea of wanting horses back in his life is something that really helped him stay focused in prison. And it's something that, gave him the energy and, the passion to stay out of trouble. And so the first place he visited after getting out of prison was the horse ranch in Compton. And, he hasn't looked back since. He's someone who was deeply impacted by horses, and horses have essentially saved his life.
How many of the Compton Cowboys do you keep up with on a daily basis?
I'm still in contact with the Compton Cowboys via social media, and we sometimes, we'll talk on the phone. But I'm also really busy doing other things. But I think this is a story that is really near and dear to my heart, and the respect and admiration I have for the Cowboys is, I think, really apparent, and I hope it also comes out in the book.
How important was having a young edition of the Compton Cowboys made available for young readers?
Well, I think it's really great. I think it was really important for me to also have a young reader's edition. I keep thinking about myself as a child and how important it would have been for me to have this book, to learn about this history. So I think in terms of influence, it definitely starts with young people.
Time's running out, so it's time for the Rocking Aid. 8 random questions. Answer with the first thing that comes to your mind, no pressure.
Okay.
In your travels, which country was the most interesting?
Madagascar.
What was more nerve-wracking, your first TEDx talk or turning in this manuscript to your publisher?
My first TEDx talk for sure.
Should student athletes get paid?
I think so. Absolutely.
How many languages do you speak?
4.
Which ones?
Yeah, some English, Spanish, Portuguese, and German.
Last book you read?
The last book I read was a book called Evicted by Matthew Damon.
Place you go to relax?
I go hiking here in Los Angeles.
I know your history of playing basketball, college basketball and such. Let's talk about the best basketball player you went one-on-one against.
It was Kobe Bryant. I played Kobe in 2007 at UCLA here. UCLA has these really incredible summer pickup basketball games, and Kobe showed up one day and we played, and it was incredible.
When's the movie of the Compton Cowboys expected to be finished?
I think it's supposed to go into production at some point this year or the next. So maybe a few years down the line.
Journalist, jump shooting, guarding Kobe, horse riding, and award-winning author of the Compton Cowboys, Walter Thompson-Hernandez. Thanks for taking the time to talk with us today.
Thank you so much. I appreciate it.
And that, my friends, is Beyond the Mic.